Many men have nothing to smile about. Been broke down, too proud to cry it out. Walk a mile in my boots and you know what I'm about. I took some licks and I took some hits and I found out them bones can actually break sticks. But them words are powerful as shit.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let the Paint Dry. Here we are again in Tacoma after a couple of rainy days, really rainy and wet, and it's been beautiful. It's been beautiful in its own way, in its soggy, wet way. As always, we want to start with a song to see what we have on the top, and we're going to go ahead and do that. This is an improv meditation grounding song. Boom ba ding boom 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 ding boom 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 ba ding boom boom ba do boom ba ding ba dum boom boom. I said boom ba ding boom 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 ba ding boom 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 boom. I said a boom ba ding boom 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 boom. Boom ba dee bo do do do. Boom ba dee bo do do do. Boom ba dee bo do do do. I have walked 1,000 miles down those desert roads, and they have led me here. Boom, 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 boom. I have prayed 1,000 prayers for you to make it. Boom, 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 boom. The stars and the planets had to align for us to be here today. Boom, 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 boom. I will stay in front of you. Blessed, blessed, beloved. Blessed, blessed, beloved. I will stay in front of you until you know how much your love. Boom, 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 boom. Dee 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 dee. As always, it grounds us. It gives us peace. It gives us good vibrations in our body. It feels good, and so we do it. And we're song healers. We're sonic healers. We're sonic discoverers. We're discovering it as we go. You know, we don't ever know what's going to come out. We just spit it out, so to speak, and whatever comes out, that's what we accept. And then we explore that, and we create a song. So it's always a a privilege, and it's a pleasure, and it's a joy to see what comes up. We never know. As we're entering, this is the second podcast in the 2021, and what an eventful year. I'll let that pause and sit there for a second. So here's the thing. We have a choice with however we want this to go. We have a choice if we sit in rage. We have a choice if we go to therapy. It's up to us. We have a choice. Yes, things are broken. Yes, things are imbalanced. Yes, crimes have been committed against people unjustly. There's a lot of injustice. There's a lot of injustice. There's a lot of inequality. There's a lot of anger in our world. There's a lot of hurt. Anger and rage is really hurt. People are hurt. Even if they're unjustly hurt, they're hurt. But it's our choice whether we elevate as a conscious collective or we digress. I would invite you to elevate. I would invite you to choose to do something different. I would invite us to pause. I would invite us to embody and to accept and to, well, not accept, but that's a bit of a commitment. But I would invite us to Selah, pause. Is there a different way to do it? Is it working? Is it working how we're moving as a conscious collective? Is it working? One of the things that I say to myself and I ask other people when I'm engaging, I don't want to use the word coaching, but when we're engaging in conversation and we're sorting out things, is it working? With what you've done so far, with the actions that you have taken, does it work? Maybe something worked for a day, but does it work for 20 and 30 years? Is it sustainable? And as we start looking at what is sustainable, and I'm trying to deconstruct this word sustainable because I can see there's some problematic ideas around it, because what can be sustainable for someone is not sustainable for someone else. And it seems to be that with our civilization, something has to die for something else to live. But let's explore the alternative. Let's explore a world that we can be sustained, and the people that don't, and the animals, every living creature, the trees, they don't have to die. Now, that's a huge, huge statement, because we've carried on for so many years with we go forward and live our full lives, and other things have to digress and have to die and have to sacrifice. Is that the way it has to be? I'm open to exploring that. I'm open to being critical to that. And one of the things that I talked about before in the last podcast, I think I've talked about it quite a bit, is just being in our bodies and what happens in our bodies. What's happening in our bodies for me, and this is the way I understand it, what's happening in my body is a reflection of what's happening in my world around me. It's all connected. So I want to invite people to get into their bodies. What's going on in your body? What's going on in your gut? What's going on with your sleep patterns? All of these in your mind, our wellness. Have we taken the time to deal with any trauma? I'm going through a season right now where I'm sorting through a lot of trauma from my childhood. And it's extremely painful, extremely hard. It's some of the hardest work that I've ever had to do, but it's worth it. How do we do a better job at honoring our masculinity as men, talking to the straight men that consider themselves straight, because that's the group that has done the most violence in the world. That's the group that has started wars, that has destroyed civilizations. How do we heal that? How do we pause for a moment and do something that you've never done before? Consider things that you've never considered before. You deconstruct your own masculinity. Because my question is how you carried on so far up until this point, has it worked? Is it effective? Are you happy? And this is not something that I'm the authority on. I'm just posing the question. I'm just putting it on the table. Are you happy? Do you have joy in your life? If the answer is no, then I want to invite you to examine your masculinity, examine the toxicity, examine the aggression, examine the violence, examine the fear, because behind all that is fear. And we have never, as a collective, been taught how to deal with fear. How to say that you're scared. That's not manly, right? But there are plenty of things that scare me. One of the things that scares me, and this is funny now that I think about it, and I'm going to say it, is going to prison, and probably not what you think. But I have sleep apnea, so if I go to prison, I'm going to snore, and all the other inmates are going to be pissed off. It's going to be a problem. You're very close together when you're in a jail cell. I don't want to go to jail. I can handle everything else. Funny, right? That scares me. For real scares me. Going to jail and being put in that situation, because I wouldn't be able to sleep. And then after 2 days of not sleeping, I'd be snoring so loud because I'd collapse. It'd just be all bad. You can see how bad that would be. That's something that scares me. It's important to talk about the things that scare you. It's important to be honest and vulnerable as men. That is the only way that we can heal. And the truth is no one's ever taken the time or given space for that to happen. But for men that are adults, it is our choice to heal those wounds and those traumas, to get inside of and acknowledge our divine masculinity and do the work. And men is funny because I remember hearing when I was younger that men mature slower than women. Without going deep into the whole gender discussion, I feel like that's a totally different discussion. But men do mature slower than women. It used to hurt my feelings. It used to get all up in arms, and I was always trying to be mature to prove that that's not true. But it is true. Men mature slower than women, and that's okay. So now when you get, many times men don't have the capacity to do this work until they're in their late 30s to 40s. This is the time to do that work. Some men are ahead of the game for whatever reason. But it's worth doing the work. It's worth healing the traumas so that you stop the toxic behavior that you've been taught is okay. Many times men don't feel valued, and we have two modes that we move in, 2 or 3. Sarcasm, which blends in with humor, and anger, aggression. So we're really sarcastic with all of our guy friends. And then we're angry, we're aggressive, we're, that dick energy out there. There's a use for that if you understand what that is, if you're focused, if you can focus your sexual energy. Sexual energy is good. Dick energy is good if you can focus it, if you can understand it, and understand, the only way I can say this, understand what to do with your dick. If you can do that, then you have a chance to heal the toxic behavior that you've been taught. So I'm talking to the straight man, because that's what I am, and I've had to do this work. And I had the privilege of being under my father, which was a man who was very focused and very controlled and very loving. And he let my mom do what women do and rub off onto him, rub her feminine energy and soften the edges and develop him and build him up. That was the dynamic. So we have to be open. Now, that's not something that we do naturally because we're men. But that's a very, being in that mindset of we're men and we do this is a narrow mindset. And there's so much more to you. There's so much more to your dynamics as a man. There's so much more to your existence. People haven't allowed it. No one's given space for you, but there is more. And the more that you're scared of is your femininity. Each of us hold the capacity to hold a full feminine side as a man, and you can be both. And you're not less for being both. So that you'll have to explore your understanding of femininity and the power and the respect for femininity. That's something that we haven't been taught as a culture, as a collective, across racial barriers. In each race, we have not been taught that. We have not been taught how to respect femininity because we have not been taught how to respect our own masculinity. So if we can't respect ourselves, and we think we're respecting ourselves, we think by not letting someone punk us or make us feel less than, or make us feel, you know what it is. That's that schoolyard bully, all that stuff, that real primitive way of thinking. We think that if we protect that we are respecting ourselves. That's not self-respect. That's just fear. The person doing the aggression, the perpetration, the violation, they're scared and you're scared. It's just fear. It's fear with ignorance. And that is volatile. That's where people get hurt. That's where men turn into animals. We are animals of a sort, but we've evolved to a higher level of intelligence, and we're being asked right now in this world. We're being asked between 2020 and 2021, the question is coming even closer to our face. Will we deal with our primitive behavior and our primitive energy? Will we find a better way? Because we're being faced with things that we don't know how to use our words. We don't know how to use our stillness. We don't know how to use our power. We don't know how to use any of those things to create a safe environment for ourselves and others. The world has asked us this question, and we're frustrated. I have a black agenda that I carry with me all the time. But this is a man problem. And men are in positions of power, whether you know it or not. But the thing you're missing is the femininity. So we have a choice to do this work. We have an opportunity. We had a major opportunity in 2020 to do some very powerful work because we were forced to sit down. Now we have a little bit more mobility, and we have another opportunity, another year for men to look at their masculinity and investigate it and do different behaviors. We have an opportunity to not move in fear, but to move in love and to move in peace and confidence and security in ourselves. You have to trust yourself. And I would go so far to say you need to practice these behaviors. We got to get real critical of ourselves and how we move, how we use our power. With the power that we have comes responsibility, because everything that we do, there's a reaction. To every action, there's a reaction, right? Like science, just basic. So however you move in the world, what you do, there's going to be a reaction to that. There's going to be something left behind based on what you've done. From the smallest thing to the biggest thing, the smallest, most minuscule thing in our life is important. Now, that can be overwhelming because you can get to a manic state where you're over criticizing and being critical and examining everything you do. So I would step back and just say, just know that. You don't have to overthink things, but just know that everything is important and that you're moving with a certain amount of power. And if we are to go forward and have a really, really balanced, well, I'm going to take away balance, but if we can get in harmony, because balance gets goofy. Balance builds tension. And we get ourselves in that manic place trying to balance everything. But if we can get in tune, in harmony. I sang with my family. I had my sister up here this last November, but there's 5 of us, in harmonizing, finding our spot. I was the bass, so I was on the bottom. We're singing 5-part harmony. My brother right under me, he was singing like a lead baritone. And then my little brother was singing a tenor, which is a little bit higher than the baritone. And then my sister was singing alto, which is higher than the tenor, but it's the low end of the female range. And then my older sister was singing soprano, which is the highest voice for a female. The only thing that males do is they do I think it's called countertenor. The kind of the boys' choirs that you've heard, they're really high. Only young boys can do it, right? Before their voice changes. We would have to find harmony with each other. And we spent a good 20 years finding harmony. So now, a lot of times when we do shows, we don't use a pitch pipe or a piano. We're singing all a cappella. And we just sing. When I sing, in the tomb, all my brothers know exactly what key, and my sisters know exactly what key that's in. And they know if it's too high. Sometimes if I pitch in a note a step higher, they'll just adjust. They know because we've spent years of being in harmony together. So when I sing something like, Blessed Mary, they know exactly where that's at. They know their parts, blessed, and our minds, blessed, and other parts, blessed, harmony. So we have to, and the way that you sing harmony with someone is it feels right. When someone sings a note and you sing another note, when it harmonizes and it's in tune, it feels right in your body. It doesn't give you that dissonance, right? So that's what we have to learn in 2021 is how to be in harmony. So now here's the thing, some of us have gotten so addicted to being in dissonance with each other that we think that that's the place. And we look for those dissonant spots. Dissonant chords actually can work. You can sing a dissonant chord that doesn't quite feel like a major chord, and it still works. So you can still live a life that's dissonant. Maybe you're different. We're not talking about everybody being the same, but we're taking a real good examination of what we've done and how we've lived as men, and it doesn't work. There has to be a better way. I believe there is. There's a higher way of thinking. So we're not going to be all the same. That's unison. You can sing in unison where you're singing all the exact same note. You can sing in unison on different parts of the piano. So you can sing a low C and then you can go up to the next C because the piano key just repeats itself. And you can sing the same note. This is a higher octave. Or you can sing that exact same note. That's unison. But harmony is different but working together. And when you sing in harmony, you can sing one note, But then when you sing both notes and they harmonize, the sum becomes greater than the individuals. So we'll know when our culture is working when the sum, when your piece that you're bringing to the table and your energy that you're bringing to the table is more, makes the collective more brighter, bigger, better. That's when we know, is when your piece brings and this person brings their piece. When men come together in their positions of power. Now, if we follow this, we'll start to follow the importance of power and realize we have personal power, but we don't have to have power over everything. We can work in harmony with the femme and femininity, the divine and sacred femininity. We can work in harmony with that. We can work as in servitude and support and protection. Some of us feel like we're doing that, but we aren't protecting anything if we really look at it. We're just spiraling out in a very primitive and immature mode. So that's what's on my heart. What do I have coming up? I have a show in February. Tomorrow, I actually submit the pictures of the pieces. It's going to be pieces to the gallery. It's going to be at the Leo Gallery again. So they invited us back. And when I say us, I mean me and my demons. Not all demons are bad. They invited us back at the Leo Gallery. We're really excited about that. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do. I kind of have an idea. So that's going to run February to March. Like February, I'll get the dates. It's going to run mid-February all the way into March. And then we're going to be continuing to bump up the website. We're going to be selling T-shirts, or I think we're going to be able to do the stamped T-shirts. I'll be able to probably let you know next podcast. Sponsorship, anybody who wants to sponsor. We've had wonderful sponsors thus far. So anybody that wants to, join the sponsorship, feel free to do that and reach out to me. There's so many different options. And working on other shows this year, working on a ton of art. Follow me on Instagram at Travis Johnson Studios. I post daily in the stories. And on Facebook on Let the Paint Dry. No, not Let the Paint Dry. Travis Johnson Studios Northwest. You can join that group. And the website, travisjohnsonart.squarespace.com. I put art on there that's available on a pretty regular basis. So there's about 140 pieces that you can sort through. I don't know if I need to do less or if I need to do more. We're still sorting that out, but feel free to go to that. That's very helpful. So if you want to support me in this podcast as we do this work of the heart, work that matters, I greatly appreciate it. So with that, I think we need to end with a song. Ye-do-do, 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 ye-do-do. Go do work that matters. Let the paint dry. Follow your heart.